Growing up as a girl in India with big dreams and wild ambitions wasn't exactly considered normal. I didn't come from a film family. I didn't have the perfect height or the conventional skin tone the media adored. But I had something far more powerful. I had a fire inside me that refused to dim just because the world told me to lower my light. I realized early on that if I wanted to make it, really make it, I couldn't afford to apologize for who I was. Being unapologetically you doesn't mean being arrogant. It doesn't mean ignoring feedback or shutting people out. It means owning your quirks, your culture, your voice, even when the world tries to tell you that you need to change to be accepted. It's about showing up as your full self, no matter who's in the room, and saying, "This is me, take it or leave it." When I first started working in Bollywood, I was constantly told what to fix: my nose, my body, my accent. They said you'd be more marketable if you looked a little more like this or a little less like that. It was tempting. I'm human, just like everyone else. Of course, I wanted to be accepted. Of course, I wanted the big roles. But I also knew deep down that if I started changing everything about myself to fit someone else's mold, I'd lose the very thing that made me different in the first place. Let me tell you something. Your difference is your superpower. Whether it's the way you speak, the way you dress, or the way you think, that thing that makes you feel like an outsider, that's your edge, that's your magic, and the minute you stop apologizing for it, you'll realize that the world starts to take notice. Not because you fit in, but because you stand out. There was a time when I was afraid to be too ambitious. I thought maybe I should dim it down, play it safe, be more agreeable. But I soon understood that shrinking myself wasn't serving anyone. Not the little girl watching me from a small town, not the young women trying to find their voice, and certainly not me. I wasn't put on this earth to be invisible. And neither were you. We live in a world that loves to put people in categories. Too loud, too quiet, too dark, too bold, too Indian, too foreign, too this, too that. But guess what? You get to define who you are. Not society, not the industry, not your critics, you. And when you finally stop seeking permission to be yourself, you become unstoppable. I remember when I moved to the U.S. and tried to break into Hollywood. I was told straight to my face, "You'll never be a mainstream star here." They said my name was too difficult, my skin tone wasn't right, my accent wouldn't work, and for a moment I questioned myself. I wondered if I should change my name to make it easier for others. I even considered softening my voice, flattening my accent. But then I thought, why should I erase parts of myself just to make others comfortable? So I didn't. I kept showing up. I kept being me, and eventually people stopped trying to change me because I made it clear. I'm not here to conform. I'm here to transform. Being unapologetically you also means being okay with being misunderstood. Not everyone will get you, not everyone will support you, and that's okay. Your job is not to be liked by everyone. Your job is to live your truth, to follow your path, and to love yourself fiercely through it all. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your dreams, your choices, or your identity. It's not always easy. There will be moments when being authentic feels like standing naked in front of the world. You'll feel vulnerable, exposed, but in those moments, I want you to remember this: pretending to be someone else is exhausting, but being yourself, that's freedom, that's power, that's peace. People often say I'm bold, some say I'm intimidating. Some call it confidence, others call it ego. And to all of that, I say, thank you. I worked hard to earn that reputation. I worked hard to walk into rooms like I belong there, even when no one invited me. And I did it without apologizing for the space I took up. So if you're sitting here wondering whether you're too much, let me tell you you're not. You're exactly enough. The world doesn't need another copy-paste version of someone else. It needs the real, raw, radiant version of you, the you that laughs too loud, the you that dreams too big, the you that refuses to back down, be brave, be bold, be unapologetically you, and let the world catch up. There's something you need to understand early in your journey. People will doubt you, and not just strangers. Sometimes it will be the ones closest to you, friends, teachers, family, colleagues. Not always out of malice, but out of fear, out of limitation, out of habit. And if you're not careful, their doubts can become your inner voice. But here's the thing, you don't have to believe them. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your dreams, and you definitely don't need their permission to chase them. Just keep moving. I've been doubted my entire life. When I said I wanted to be Miss World, people laughed. When I moved from beauty pageants to acting, people said I was just another pretty face. When I entered Bollywood, I was told, "You don't look like a heroine." And then when I dared to dream beyond borders and moved to Hollywood, the voices became louder. "They won't accept you. You'll never make it there." The criticism wasn't subtle, it wasn't kind, but I kept moving. Not because I had all the answers, not because I was fearless, but because I knew one thing. I would rather fail chasing my own vision than succeed living someone else's version of my life. Doubt is a funny thing. It wears many masks. Sometimes it comes as backhanded compliments. Sometimes it comes as silence when you share your dreams. And sometimes it shows up in your own mirror when you start to wonder if they were right. But that's the moment you have to get really clear. Do you want their story or do you want yours? You know what's really powerful, moving forward even when no one claps, even when no one understands why you're trying so hard, even when people roll their eyes or talk behind your back. That's real power, not validation, not applause, not awards. Persistence, quiet, unstoppable persistence. I've had moments when casting directors wouldn't look me in the eye. When I walked into rooms and felt invisible, when I was told I was too Indian for American roles and too American for Indian ones, it would have been easy to give in, to tone myself down, to quit. But I didn't come this far to let someone else's limited vision define my future, so I kept working, I trained, I read scripts, I knocked on doors that didn't open the first, second, or even 10th time. I learned to clap for myself, I learned to speak up for myself, and most importantly, I learned to move in silence until my success made the noise. You don't need to be loud to be effective. You don't need to scream your worth to prove it. What you need is a strong sense of who you are and where you're going, and if you don't have that yet, that's okay. Just take the next step anyway. Clarity often comes through action, not waiting. Here's the truth. People doubt what they don't understand. If your vision is too big for their imagination, that's not your fault. If your ambition makes others uncomfortable, that's not your problem. You're not here to live small so that others can feel safe. You're here to break barriers, shake things up, and create something that didn't exist before you believed it could. So yes, they will doubt you, they will question you, they will wonder, who does she think she is? And your answer should always be the same: I am someone who refuses to give up. Let them doubt, let them whisper, just don't let them stop you, because here's what happens when you keep moving. People who once ignored you start to pay attention. People who once doubted you start to respect you. And the most powerful transformation, you start to believe in yourself more deeply than ever before. Every no I've heard made me sharper. Every rejection fueled my resilience. Every closed door taught me to build my own. When I won a national award, when I became a lead on American television, when I was cast in blockbuster films around the world, it wasn't because I was the most talented or the most perfect. It was because I kept showing up. I didn't stop. I didn't fold. That's what I want to tell you. Just keep moving, even when your legs shake, even when your voice trembles, even when you feel alone, uncertain, or tired. Because one day, the very people who doubted you will be telling others how they always knew you had it in you. Smile at that moment, but remember what got you there, your courage, your grind, your belief. You don't need a crowd behind you. You just need a direction and the will to keep walking, one step, one day, one moment at a time. So if no one else says it, let me be the one to tell you, I believe in you. Now get out there and prove them all wrong. There's a quiet kind of power in mystery, in holding something back, in not laying every piece of your plan on the table for the world to see. And as someone who's lived much of her life under a spotlight, let me tell you this: it's not only okay to keep parts of yourself private, it's necessary. We live in an age where we're constantly encouraged to share everything. Share your goals, your struggles, your wins, your losses. every thought, every emotion, every move. We've mistaken transparency for strength. But true strength, it's knowing when to speak and, more importantly, when to stay silent. There's an elegance in being intentional with what you reveal. You don't have to explain your every step. You don't need to prove the value of your journey to anyone. When you don't show all your cards, you give yourself space to grow without pressure, to fail without judgment, and to evolve without external noise. When I was transitioning from Bollywood to Hollywood, I didn't announce my plans to the world. I didn't post long captions about chasing new dreams. I quietly did the work. I moved countries. I started from scratch. I walked into auditions where nobody knew my name, and I didn't publicize the struggle. I let my actions speak, and eventually people saw the result and called it success. But they didn't see the long hours, the rejections, the moments of doubt. I kept that close, not because I was hiding, but because I was protecting my process. You see, not everyone needs to know your every move. Some people want information not to support you, but to measure how fast you're climbing, to compare, to compete, to critique. And when you give them access too early, too freely, you give them power over your peace. Don't do that. There's power in silence, not passive silence, but deliberate, strategic silence, the kind that says, I know where I'm going, and I don't need to convince you. When you don't show all your cards, you give yourself room to make mistakes in private. You preserve your energy. You protect your vision from being poked at by people who don't understand it. People often confuse openness with authenticity. They're not the same. You can be real without being raw in front of everyone. You can be honest without handing out every piece of your heart for public consumption. You're allowed to be selective. You're allowed to be layered. And let me be real, being a woman in this world means you're often expected to explain yourself, to soften your edges, to make everyone comfortable. They want you to smile while you hustle. They want to know your plans so they can decide if they believe in them. But guess what? They don't need to believe. You do. That's enough. I've learned that the more you share, the more people feel entitled to weigh in. Opinions multiply, doubts creep in, and suddenly your vision feels clouded, not by your own reflection, but by everyone else's projections. So keep something for yourself, a goal that only you know, a dream you're quietly working on, a version of yourself that doesn't exist for anyone else's approval. That doesn't make you fake, that makes you focused. In my career, I've found that the more unpredictable I am, the more control I have, the less people can pin you down, the more they watch. Curiosity works in your favor. It keeps people guessing, and it keeps you in charge of your narrative. And let's be honest, not everything sacred needs to be seen. Your relationships, your next move, your pain, your healing. These things deserve care, and sometimes care means privacy. Sometimes silence isn't hiding. It's healing, it's building, it's becoming. Let people wonder what you're up to. Let them guess. You're not a show. You're not content. You're a person. Multi-dimensional, complex, and entitled to your inner world. And when the time is right, when the idea is ready, when the work is done, when the foundation is strong, you show what you've built. You walk into the room and let the results speak. Let your glow be the story, not the process of how you got there. That's when the impact hits harder. That's when they realize you weren't just dreaming, you were doing. So no, don't feel pressured to lay it all out. Don't rush to prove yourself. You're not behind just because you're not loud. There is brilliance in quiet moves. There is strength in discretion. There is dignity in not performing your life for the applause of others. Remember, you are not obligated to be an open book. You are the author. You choose what gets published and when. The rest, keep it close, let it grow, let it breathe, and while the world wonders what your next move will be, smile, stay focused, and keep building, because you don't have to show all your cards to win the game. You just have to know how to play them. There was a time in my life when I was constantly chasing the applause, the validation, the nods of approval from people I thought mattered. Directors, audiences, media, even strangers on social media. I thought that if enough people liked me, if enough people said you're amazing, then maybe, just maybe, I'd believe it too. But the truth is, the approval of the world will never fill the silence you feel inside if you don't believe in yourself first. It took me years, and some very humbling experiences, to learn this, build inner strength, not outer approval, because external approval is like a drug. It feels good in the moment, but it fades quickly. One minute they love you, the next they are tearing you down. That's just the nature of the world. But inner strength, that stays, that grounds you, that carries you when the lights are off and the applause stops. There were moments in my career when I was on every magazine cover, winning awards, walking red carpets, and still I'd come home feeling empty, because I was living for likes, for praise, for validation from people who didn't really know me. That kind of approval is addicting, but it's also exhausting, because no matter how much you achieve, it's never enough when your worth is tied to someone else's opinion. I had to ask myself, what happens if the world stops clapping? Will I still love myself? Will I still stand tall? Will I still feel like I matter? And that's when I started shifting. I stopped performing for people. I stopped asking for permission to feel proud of myself. I started building something deeper, something quieter, a kind of strength that doesn't scream or shout but stands still and steady. I started building inner strength. You build inner strength by facing your fears, not running from them. You build it by showing up when no one's watching, by doing the hard work, by being honest with yourself. You build it by being your own cheerleader in a world that's quick to criticize. And you build it by knowing who you are, even when everyone else tries to define you. When I was rejected from certain roles in Hollywood, when I was told to my face that I'd never be the lead because of my skin tone or accent, it stung, of course it did. I'm human, but I didn't crumble. Why? Because I had already spent years building resilience. I had already learned not to let someone else's no shake the foundation I'd built within myself. That's the beauty of inner strength. It makes you unshakable. It doesn't mean you don't feel pain or disappointment or sadness. It means you don't let those feelings define you. You acknowledge them, you learn from them, and then you move forward anyway. Approval will always come and go. Trends change, opinions change. One day they love you, the next day they don't. But your self-worth should never be tied to that. Because if it is, you'll live your entire life on an emotional roller coaster, rising and falling with every compliment or criticism. That's not freedom, that's dependence. Real power is being able to stand in a room full of doubt and still say, I know who I am. Real power is walking away from something that doesn't serve your spirit, even if it would impress everyone else. Real power is choosing your peace over popularity. I've learned to clap for myself in quiet moments. I've learned to celebrate progress that no one else sees. And I've learned that inner strength is built in solitude, in silence, in those unseen hours when you're grinding and growing and nobody's watching. And let me be very clear, this isn't about ego. It's not about thinking you're better than others. It's about knowing you don't need others to tell you that you're worthy. You just are. You were born worthy. So ask yourself, are you doing it for the likes or for the love, for the claps or for the calling, for the followers or for your future? Because one path will drain you, the other will fill you. When I walk into rooms today, I don't need to be the loudest voice. I don't need to prove that I belong. I walk in with the quiet knowing that I've earned my place. That kind of presence isn't given. It's built, and it takes time. It takes falling and getting back up. It takes rejection, reflection, and rising stronger every single time. So if you're waiting for someone to tell you you're enough, stop. You don't need their approval. You need your belief. That's what will carry you through the highs and lows. That's what will keep you grounded when the noise gets loud. That's what will make you unstoppable. Build your core, build your values, build your mind. That's your real foundation. And once you have that, no one, not a critic, not a trend, not even failure, can take that away from you. So go ahead, be brave enough to build quietly, be strong enough to stand alone, and be bold enough to know. You don't need the world's approval to rise. You just need your own. Confidence is not something you wait for. It's not a gift that someone hands you when you reach a milestone. It's not a reaction to success, it's a decision, a conscious choice to own who you are, regardless of where you are, what room you walk into, or who's watching. It's your signature, your statement, and like couture, confidence is something you wear, not for others, but for yourself. It's tailored to you. It should fit like a second skin. When I walk into a room, I don't walk in wondering if I belong there. I walk in knowing I do. That's not arrogance, that's preparation, that's presence, and most importantly, that's confidence, custom, fit through years of trial, triumph, failure, and self-awareness. It's not about being loud or overpowering. It's about being grounded. It's about showing up again and again as your most authentic, unapologetic self, even if you're still figuring that person out. Think about it like this. When you wear couture, you're not wearing something off the rack. It's not made for anyone else, it's made for you. It's stitched to your shape, molded to your style, designed with intention. Confidence is exactly the same. What works for someone else may not work for you. You have to find your own rhythm, your own volume, your own silhouette of self-belief. For me, confidence didn't come from always winning. It came from learning how to rise after losing, from showing up to auditions and being rejected, from being misunderstood, misjudged, misquoted, and still choosing to walk forward with my head high. It came from having people talk about me, question me, label me, and still refusing to shrink. That's the moment confidence is born, not when the world approves of you, but when you approve of yourself. I've worn designer gowns, been styled by the best in the world, and walked carpets where every flash is a judgment. And yet the most powerful thing I've ever worn is my self-assurance, because no brand, no logo, no dress will make you shine if you don't believe in your own light. The outfit can be flawless, but if the woman wearing it is unsure of herself, it shows. Confidence starts on the inside. It's the way you talk to yourself when no one else is around. It's the way you carry yourself even when the world is trying to weigh you down, and it's built, not in one grand moment, but piece by piece. It comes from keeping promises to yourself, from doing the work, from failing and learning, from walking away from situations that don't serve your worth. I've learned that it's not about waiting to feel confident. It's about acting confident until it becomes real. Not fake, it's not pretending, it's choosing. Just like you choose your outfit every morning, you can choose your mindset. You can choose to say, "This is who I am today, and she is enough." People will try to measure you against their standards. They'll tell you to be more this or less that, to dim here, to shine there, but you weren't born to fit their expectations. You were born to create your own. Confidence is refusing to be edited by someone else's insecurities. And let's be real, it's not always easy. There are days when you'll feel invisible, days when your reflection looks like a stranger, days when imposter syndrome knocks on your door and says, "Who do you think you are?" On those days, wear confidence like armor. Remind yourself of the storms you've already survived, of the nights you didn't quit, of the versions of yourself you've outgrown. Wear confidence like couture because it makes everything else fall into place. People feel it before you speak. They respond to your energy before your words. It's the silent introduction you carry everywhere you go. And when you walk in knowing your worth, you change the dynamic of every space you enter. You don't have to beg to be seen. You don't have to fight to be heard. You simply exist in your power, and that is more than enough. So tailor your confidence, stitch it from your experiences, embroider it with your lessons. Line it with resilience, add sparkle from your authenticity, make it bold, make it soft, make it loud or quiet, but make it yours. Don't copy someone else's style, don't borrow their voice, build your own. The world will always have opinions. It will always try to decide who you should be, but you get to choose how you carry yourself. You get to choose what energy you bring into a room. You get to choose whether you show up seeking approval or radiating belief. So the next time you feel uncertain, like maybe you don't measure up, straighten your spine, lift your chin, and remember, confidence isn't something you earn, it's something you wear. like your favorite outfit, like that gown that hugs you in all the right places, like your identity, fierce, fearless, and uniquely yours. You are the designer of your own presence, so go ahead. Wear your confidence like couture. Not for them, for you. There's a certain elegance in restraint, a quiet dignity in walking away when chaos calls your name. Choosing grace over drama doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're passive or disconnected. It means you're rooted. It means you understand that not every battle is worth your energy, and not every reaction deserves your attention. I've learned, often the hard way, that not everything needs a comeback. Not every insult deserves an answer. Sometimes silence is the sharpest response. Sometimes your growth shows in the conversations you no longer entertain. And in this world, where drama is currency and chaos is entertainment, choosing grace is the ultimate power move. There was a time when I felt the need to defend myself constantly, to explain my choices, to clap back, to correct the narrative. But after a while, I realized something important. The people who truly understand you don't need explanations, and the people who don't will twist your words no matter what. So why waste your breath? Choosing grace means letting your presence speak louder than your defense. It means trusting that your truth doesn't need validation from people who are committed to misunderstanding you, and that kind of inner peace. It's not easy to come by. It's not natural when you're raised in environments that teach you to fight fire with fire, but it is absolutely liberating. I've had people question my worth, my talent, my decisions, publicly and privately. I've had people project their insecurities onto me, try to box me in, try to dim my light, and for a long time I thought responding was the only way to prove I was strong. But now I know real strength isn't loud. It's not in the clapback, it's in the composure, it's in the choice to rise above, not to sink into the noise. Let me be clear, grace isn't about being silent when you should speak. It's not about suppressing your voice or tolerating disrespect. No, grace is clarity. It's emotional intelligence. It's knowing when to speak with power and when to walk away in peace. It's recognizing that not everything deserves a spotlight and that some things are better left in your rear view mirror. Drama is a distraction. It pulls you into a cycle of proving, defending, explaining, and it leaves you drained. It thrives on reactions. It feeds off emotion, and the moment you choose grace, you cut off its oxygen supply. You say, I will not be part of the performance. I will protect my peace. When you choose grace, you reclaim your time, your mind, your dignity. You become unbothered, not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself more. You care about your purpose, your growth, your energy. You stop showing up to arguments just because you were invited. You stop allowing people to pull you into their chaos just to feel in control. There's an undeniable beauty in the kind of woman who walks through storms with her head high and doesn't flinch when thunder rolls. She knows who she is. She doesn't need to broadcast her strength. She lives it. Quietly, confidently, completely. I've had moments where I've chosen to respond with grace when every part of me wanted to snap back. And believe me, it takes discipline, it takes maturity, but the peace that follows, it's worth it every single time. Because drama may give you temporary satisfaction, but grace gives you lasting power, and your energy is sacred. You should spend it on things that build, not things that break. People might not always understand your calm. They may mistake your grace for weakness. Let them. That's not your burden to carry. You are not here to meet their expectations. You are here to evolve, to thrive, to rise. And you can't do that if you're constantly entangled in emotional debris. Grace is a choice. Sometimes it's the harder choice, but it's always the higher one. It's choosing to let go of the need to be right in favor of being free. It's choosing to grow instead of getting even. It's knowing that how you respond speaks volumes about you, and staying silent doesn't mean you've lost. It means you're focused on a bigger win, so let them talk, let them assume, let them misunderstand. That's their drama, not yours. You have bigger things to build, higher places to go, deeper peace to protect. Don't trade your growth for petty battles. Don't let noise distract you from your purpose. Let your success be your response. Let your light be your answer. Let your grace be your signature. And remember, every time you choose grace, you choose freedom. Every time you choose grace, you claim power. Every time you choose grace, you rise, so stand tall, smile if you want to, say nothing if you must, walk away if you need to, but above all, choose grace over drama.